Building Downtown. Building Downtown.
Hey, this is The Building Downtown. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Building DT. You can follow or subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Jason Kelly. You can follow me at JKellyMMA. And I'm joined by Kirill Kasatskiy and Amy Barton, who you can follow at Apostle Raps or Ames Bell, respectively. Now, we got a guest here with us tonight. I am truly excited to have this conversation. But first, we got a quick announcement to get out of the way. Some of you listeners know, you've been following along since we've been starting the show and working with it, getting our practice runs in. Amy Barton has been on here and there. And Amy Barton and I have a history with combat sports media stuff. As of 2 days ago, Amy has joined on as the third wheel, so to speak, on The Building Downtown. So make sure you get her contact information so you can send her gifts to congratulate her and all that stuff. How you two doing tonight before I bring our guest in?
Good. I'm good, man. Chilling. Can't wait for this to kick off.
And how's our new host?
You know, I'm having the best third wheel night that's ever existed.
Perfect. So tonight we're joined by a man who's been a part of Battle Rap for many years, a staple in KOTD, the WRCs. He has a judging system many people think is the best. His hair game shit's on yours, and he'll also be the first to tell you why you shouldn't take treats and free crisps from a person who uses dirtbag as a prefix. That's right. I'm talking about Jacob Kasatskiy. I still fucking butchered it. Better known as Knamelis. Knamelis, how you doing, my man?
That is amongst the best intros I've ever gotten. Thank you. Hello. Thanks for having me on the show. Amy, I understand you're American, so hello, y'all. And I'm going to push this, but здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте.
Yeah. So I see we're going to fight tonight, but we'll be nice at first. That's cool.
I'm a very diplomatic fighter. I like to, I'm friendly throughout the fight, so hopefully we'll keep it diplomatic.
Yeah, this is the guy you want to get into war words with. So KOTD Grand Prix are back. As someone who's been in KOTD, been in Grand Prix, I know the KOTD is a big part of your career. Not that they've been quiet for a while, but COVID's even kept people quiet for a while. And judge battles is something I'm a huge fan of, so I'm glad that's back. When they first announced the Grand Prix tournament, the format and what's played out so far with who's in what division, everything. What are your initial thoughts on this?
It's pretty exciting to me. I think one thing, just to be fully candid, I don't keep as much up to date with the details of how things are unfolding. So this is one of the few things that's come on my radar that I've actually clicked through and been excited about and watched through. But I think this will be a little bit of hopefully at least me illuminating some of my insight, but also you guys getting me up to date on what the fuck's going on in this scene as well. So there was a few names I saw that I wasn't super familiar with or had seen people mention, but I'm excited to watch. But yeah, to your point, I think I was really excited about it. To me, it was a format that, as you mentioned, it was something that I thought had theoretically one of the best foundational ideas, the World Rap Championship, like you said, one of the best strategic ideas behind it. And as something that I'm sure a lot of the rappers will tell you as well, executionally it was an absolute mess, and it happened at a really weird time while we were transitioning from the freestyle format into the current format. And I think it was an incredible, I'm glad it happened, and it was an incredibly important moment, but it was also an awkward adolescent, pubescent moment of battle rap transition from one kind of format to another. So to see us recreate that format in what is a time that things have kind of settled a little bit more, and the meta game is a little bit more refined, is really exciting to me. And then obviously the names that are coming through are a lot of people that, when I first heard the announcement, I thought great format. I hope they get some really exciting names, because there's some really, really exciting new talent. There's a lot of the new guys that I have kind of bubbled up to my radar, admittedly not because I'm watching every single video, but
yeah they just come through, they bubble to the top type thing.
But yeah, I really wanted to see some really heavy hitters kind of fill out that format, because I think it is a really good time for that. And so I was optimistic, and then seeing the list of battlers, it was very exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you, and even me, like I'm not up on battle rap as much as I once was, and if anything, I'm still KOTD is first and foremost for me. I love it. I'm Canadian. All the events I've ever been to have been KOTD events, right? They're in my backyard, going to Toronto and stuff like that. But even guys who are in KOTD, guys who are in this tournament, I'm still not even familiar with some of them. And I like that they give them that new that opportunity to get out there. Like they announced the North Division. Amy, do you remember who Times is battling? It's they gave him like a name, I'm pretty sure.
Real deal.
Real deal, yeah, you know what I mean? So he's in Real Deal is the champ right now. So it's cool because I'm not familiar with Times, but I'm definitely going to be familiar with Times after the Sunday when the North Division battles happen. So I get what you're saying there. Now, when you look at something like this, because you're an old head in this, right? If you see a name like Thesaurus pop up, does that immediately make you root for a guy like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually I had one of the only conversations I've had about battle rap in the past very long time with someone I manage at work who just started, and her boyfriend is like a big fan of battle rap, and actually just moved from Lebanon, both of them. So there was some exciting. It was like interesting, obviously, to be like, so what do you think of Disaster?
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, I think one of the things that excites me about one of the reasons I cheer for Thesaurus, I think, is because he made that transition. He was at the absolute top of the freestyle game and then navigated that evolution. I would say, like, those two, Disaster and Thesaurus, are the two guys who were, Thesaurus more so was like winning everything in the freestyle era. Ilnak as well. There's not. It's not that there's not other examples, but they navigated that transition really well, and that's something I pay a lot of attention to. It's something that's strangely, like, I work in digital media and digital media production, like advertising and websites and applications and technology. And I think there was something really interesting that happened as battle rap moved from like a local community based scene through the advent of online video into becoming something that was like a global movement. And alongside of that was happening in a lot of other music genres at the same time. And one of the things that happen when you virtualize something, it changes a little bit. And in battle rap, obviously, it used to be improvised. That made sense, capturing the energy of the room and performing to that and turning that into your material and improvising around it. Versus, obviously, if you're performing to a internet audience that might be watching it a week later in a different situation, it's a very different. Obviously, the written format makes a lot more sense there. So, anyway, that's a long rant to say that those dudes, in a really interesting way, transitioned from improvised to written and rehearsed, and that to me is commendable. Because I struggled with that myself and had my own experience with it.
Amy, you want to jump in here or something?
Yeah, man. If that was a rant, you truly are Canadian as fuck. But also, no, before we get too far away from what you were saying a minute ago before Thesaurus, you have also said prior to now that you think up and comers need, to get their shine and have vets help them, and you kind of clowned on DDSS a little bit, but I think you meant what you were saying. And I agree with that. But like, do you feel like for a Grand Prix, in this time where there haven't been a lot of events, where the prize is, sizable, and there are very few slots, do you feel like that applies here? And do you feel like any of the particular divisions, North, South, East, or West, are particularly anemic? Like the West Coast announcement, everybody was like, holy shit! And then the rest of them were kind of like tepid compared to that. And I think it's because of the reason you were saying, where it's like, not everybody knows or cares as much about all these people like they do Thesaurus or Diz or Madflex or whatever. So do you feel like what you think and have said about, up and comers getting their shine applies to this particular case?
So I think there's a few lenses to look at that through. I think one of the most important things for longevity of a scene like this is artist development and being able to build and develop talent and then give that talent a platform to expand and kind of realize themselves in whatever the way they see fit, and hopefully build an ecosystem where they can thrive independently and feed your, like, have a mutualistic relationship. I think that's something traditionally King of the Dot has struggled with a little bit for many competing variables and reasons that I could have a whole podcast talking about. I think they've done a very good job given the circumstances and the hands that they've been dealt. But so I think that's something that you really need to have a strategic conversation about figuring out what that balance is. So depending on what lens you're looking at that through. So from an audience perspective, depends. Are you looking for a new audience, or are you looking to activate an old audience that's maybe atrophied a little bit and isn't following and wants to see a name that they recognize? Is this, or do you want to leverage the platform of Twitch and maybe try to pull in whoever's streaming? Like, I know there's some rappers who have transitioned, I know not on a huge scale or anything, but Caustic and some other people. Is there development that you can do there where you're actually building personalities that have their own independent platforms? Like, to me, it's not a silver bullet where it's like, this is the perfect balance. There's a whole bunch of competing variables about what makes sense to do there. I do strongly believe that if you want to have longevity and if you actually want to build a community, there needs to be all of that. You need to have wisdom and new eyes, and you need to have that balanced well, and those strengthen each other. That I feel like that's important for an ecosystem.
Nameless, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, the judge battles. I love judge battles. I think all judge battles should be judged, unless you're doing something fun, like when Pat Stay and Roan did the compliment battle or something. Like, you just you're joking around, whatever. But I am a big supporter of judge battles, and I think there's not too many people, if anyone, better to talk to about judging battles than you. Now, I've heard before there's a Nameless system, there's the Nameless 2.0 system. This is kind of a two-part thing, because Kirill has not complaints, but some ideas about the battling, some questions about judging, sorry,
Yep.
and some thoughts about it, because he actually has some experience with a different kind of format, right? So I was wondering, where I want you to kind of explain, or even briefly explain your judging system criteria, what you think is important, whatever, and then I kind of want Kirill to take over, because I've been saying to Kirill and I've been friends for like 12, 13 years. And I've been saying to him for like half of this friendship, I would love to hear you and Nameless in a conversation about judging. So tonight, I get my wish.
I'm excited about that, Kirill. I'm eager to hear your input here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Nameless judging system was kind of tongue in cheek, but I will stand with it and defend it strongly. I think the initial idea for it was just I feel like you guys are I think you mentioned you originally came from the MMA space. You were doing an MMA podcast or something.
Yeah, Amy and I did, yes.
Yeah.
I think you're obviously as such. That makes sense. Kirill wasn't part of it, and that's why he doesn't understand the importance of judging. And I think
Oh, thank you. We just had a conversation, but go ahead.
So judging on the spot, though, that's what I'm saying. I want to hear I just want to hear the system you do, because this is the first time I come across a freestyle battles. That's what I mean. I will tell you what I dealt with before, and it involved a lot of people, and it worked well, right? But I just want to hear what you do.
For sure.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think, to me, one of the things that again, I talk a lot, both in my work and really my life work, is around systems and optimizing systems. And I think the place that I particularly focus on is on edge cases in those systems, people who aren't necessarily activated in those systems or participating in them. So in the example of something like this, like a product like Battle Rap, something that you're trying to share with the community and try to spread and obviously grow the community, you want to think about the edges. You don't, like, I'm excited about the base, the people who love it and will love it no matter what. I'm a lot more excited about the people at the edge who are potential listeners or potential viewers that with minute tweaks you can kind of attract them, and figuring out what the least effort to get the most of them is. That's like what I think about all day and night about everything that I do. That's the way I approach life. So to me, one of the things that's difficult about a subjective thing like art is that a lot of people don't want a winner at the end of it. Like if you show battle rap to a casual battle rap watcher, a viewer, or someone who doesn't really understand, like a casual rap listener, who doesn't, they're going to watch it and be like, okay, these people competed. Who won there? And for a long period of time, for most of the recorded battles of this era, the answer is, I don't know, like look in the comments and you'll see a bunch of bullshit. So
that's what okay, sorry.
The idea is to formalize that, to build a system that allows both the artists and the audience to share a criteria. And that's not like, I'll always say I'm very strongly opinionated, and I'm not at all married to those opinions, because to me those things evolve, and that's part of why that like, again, the kind of tongue-in-cheek, like Knamelis 2.0, Knamelis 2.5, because I say something, drunk and high at an event and think it was a good idea, and I'd be like, no, I actually don't want that to be a rule at all. That's terrible. I shouldn't have to write notes every round, or I shouldn't have whatever it is, right? So I'm very open to the idea, and hopefully, Kirill, if you bring something interesting to the table, maybe you'll be part of a future Nameless judging patch, an iteration of future.
It's a little different though, but still, I would like to hear.
Yeah. Tell me about this system. I'm open to hearing about the Kirill.
Wait, please explain it in the way you explained it the other night, though.
No. Listen, I thought about it. There's also a little bit of a language barrier.
I would like to recant his statement from the other night.
No. The thing is, what I dealt with were battles, but they were offline battles, and they were you would be given an instrumental and a topic, right? And you would be told for the first round, make the song 45 seconds to a given topic on a given beat, right? So then everybody hands in a song that is on the same beat to the same topic, and that's how you pedal through them, right? So in the first round, each judge would give you a mark, right, out of 5. So you don't really sit there and dissect the lyrics and listen to each pitch of the flow and how it was mixed and all that shit. You just hear that the person can rap, and that's it, pass, right? So that would be the first round, right? Then when you get to paired rounds, each judge would get some time, right? Say a week, 2, depends how many people's in the group or whatever. But each judge would end up giving you a mark for lyrics, for the overall sounding of the track, and for the flow. And then the 4th mark would be a personal opinion, right? So credible people would be credible because when they mark it, they would give you pretty much a paragraph of why he thinks that your rhymes are 4 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 and your flow is 5 out of 5. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So they have criteria, like I said. They have the flow, the overall sounding of the track, you know what I mean? The overall opinion, the lyrics, right? And uneven number of judges will, what do you call it? We'll give you the answer.
Result. You can't have an even result, right? Yeah. All number of judges, yeah.
But you would have a strict point system, right? It wouldn't be just, oh, this guy won because I like that punchline. Yeah. Because but again, this is not live, no crowd reaction there, right? Unless we get to the final rounds where people actually perform their tracks live at a club, right? But what I'm talking about is going on online, right? And that's what I mean. I was one of the organizers. Yeah, I was one of the organizers of a battle that had over 3,000 people. It was a fucking headache, right? But we have a software built for that. You know what I mean? That's how real it got, because you couldn't physically put in every HTML file or whatever, right? So there was a table and the whole thing. But I thought about it, and I've actually talked to my sound engineer back home today about it. And judging the freestyle, but not a freestyle, judging the battle the way battles go down at KOTD makes sense on the spot. You know what I mean? Even though I would think that there's so much information that you miss, you know what I mean? Because a 90-second round from 2 people, 180 seconds, that's 3 times, right? There's so much flow of information that you could miss, you know what I mean? Where one person could win by nursery rhymes and just controlling the crowd, and the second would have the dopest fucking schemes, but he didn't deliver it right for a second. So, you know what I mean? There's a lot of nuances.
No, for sure. And I think I actually agree with a large, almost entirely what you said there. I think in terms of like developing a formalized criteria, I'll be honest, like I batted around a few ways of being like flow and originality and like formalizing it. But the difficulty there is that the second you start to quantify something that's a subjective art, it gets really difficult to put those. It starts to actually shape what the artists are doing, and to me that steps away from giving them the space that.
Yeah, but that's why you have multiple judges and uneven number of judges. It is it is an opinionated thing, yes. But if you're judging somebody like Soulja Boy against Jay-Z, you know what I mean? You're gonna see how credible the judge is if he gives the win to fucking Soulja Boy. You understand what I'm saying? And anything in between that isn't between that. It's your opinion. Yeah, if it was 3 for the lyrics, or you know what I mean? I just don't know if it would make sense for battles live for you to go home, rewatch it, and then mark it, and then give the points the next day. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that would ever be.
Wait, I have a question. What about the part where you take all the writtens and you submit them beforehand so people can pour over them and have days to decide because they
you submit them the day of, right? After the battle is done, you submit the lyrics so the judge can just go through it while he's watching it. It's just one of the things that I thought about. It doesn't mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but so I mean, I think you're barking up an interesting tree here, and I think it's about the difference between the content, like weighing the ratio between the importance of the difference between the content and the performance.
That's so what I'm saying.
I think like there's interesting, like, to pull it away from battle rap. I think there was a really interesting conversation about the difference between a great song and a great performance, where like Beatles songs, you can like hum them a little bit out of tune over a shitty guitar and it's gonna sound cool because they're fantastic songs and like they're just really well written. Whereas like a Led Zeppelin song, you can't just like pull out the ukulele and Led Zeppelin song, because it's the technical performance of that's really what makes it such a compelling piece of art, right? So I think what you're getting at and what this conversation, the dynamics that you're unpacking here, is what is that ratio between performance and content? And to me, I'm extremely biased in that. Again, I come from the freestyle era, and to me, that energy, that like flow, that improvisational energy, and being able to capture and like revise and direct collective energy, a group energy, is to me the pinnacle of like, you know, part of human experience. Like it transcends music or anything like that, right? Like that's to me one of the most exciting things. So I'll always push for the performance and the moment. I'd rather someone, you know, even the extreme you've used. Obviously, I will obviously prefer a Jay-Z song over a Soulja Boy song, but it's important to recognize the value that people get out of Soulja Boy music. It's not necessarily, you're looking at it from a very cerebral, thoughtful.
No, I just gave it as an extreme, right? Just as an extreme example, right?
Sure, but what you're unpacking there is not, to you, the way that you're unpacking it is quality. Obviously, Jay-Z will beat Soulja Boy. He's way better. What a silly example. But there are things that Soulja Boy does better than Jay-Z, and both of them can exist and be successful. It's not like...
Yes, of course, but we're looking at a particular battle of a particular round, right? It's after this, they can both exist, but we're talking about judging them against each other.
Right. So I think
just at that moment, right? Separately, they could be superstars, yes, but when they come to a battle, right, we got to decide who wins, and I would definitely think that Jay-Z would take that.
But wait,
right?
It's not just at that moment. If you're giving judges days to pour over whatever and decide on whatever they think.
No, not the moment. I mean, like the time period of the battle of the round. You know what I mean? For the, I'm just saying, I'm not judging them as individuals or can they exist a part of this. I'm just saying for that moment, for that battle, right? For that battle, it doesn't matter when you judge it, a week later or right there. For that battle, Jay-Z would win no matter when you judge it.
Yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is, for you to for when you get to a much closer competitors, right? Like I don't know, I don't want to bring any names into this, but if somebody's going to be very close, it would be very interesting.
Pick someone, Kirill. Pick them.
No, I don't want to get into this. That's why I use the extremes the way the extremes that I used, right? But when you get to close calls and you get credible judges, right, that builds up the experience, right? Because let's say, but that's what I mean. I'm talking about offline battles. This is a little different, right? I came to understood that.
So just to unpack something else, like I think one of the interesting things, like just in the difference between the format that the foundation of your thinking is coming from, the like written on beat, like recorded at your house.
Yes.
Competition style. So just two things to unpack here. First, as an artist, I think one of the most interesting things about battle rap is the multiple dynamics that are going on in a performance. I'm performing first and foremost to my opponent to break their heart and make them forget all the things they thought about me. And
that's what I mean. That's why
hold on. Let's get through this. This is a good rant here, and I'll prove to Amy that Canadians can rant properly as well.
Godspeed, bro.
So
Go.
You're performing directly to your opponent, right? Trying to break them. You're performing to the judges. Hopefully, if there's judges, you're trying to win the battle and say things that will win their affection. In the current format, in the video format, there's a particular, not everyone pays attention to this, but a lot of the vets do. You're performing to particularly the people who are in the camera shot. Everyone behind the camera doesn't really matter. You want them to yell, but you want the people behind the judges and the hosts, particularly the hosts and the inner ring entourage. You want them, they're very important. But then as you go out through wings of the physical audience, they matter in different ways. But then the additional dynamic that you have is obviously the online audience, which is the only one in the competition you're talking about here, Kirill.
Yes.
So as a performer, that's something that really fucked me up about the written battle rap format was having to, as someone who really considers all of these dynamics, having to consider and hold space for all those different audiences, right? So it is a lot more refined and focused if it's and then you get one chance to perform that thing, right? It's not like in the example you're talking about, if I mess up my verse, I can do it again. It's a little bit more polished, so it's fair. But I kind of want people to have to, it gives it this writing challenge to be like, have some shit. I think there's some people who have done that really well in this format, who are entertaining on face value and in depth. And I think that happens with art as well. Again, like artists that transcend pop culture and are both popular on mainstream and in counterculture. And it's because they have something that catches your eye and is interesting and has an aesthetic value on the spot, has a cool sound or immediate attraction, but then also has some depth to it as you continue to unpack it. And having that whole spectrum is what's really interesting to me. And when you get into the written song-based format, it's really focused on a specific part of that spectrum, and therefore the judging mechanisms are going to be really different. So I think it does, both of us can be right in this sense, and I think it does.
No, and that's what I was trying to say too. After thinking about it and talking about it for the last few days, I've actually came to a conclusion that it should be judged on the spot. Yes, you know what I mean.
It lost an argument on the last. Is this like was it on a previous podcast or just a casual conversation between the three of you? I feel like I stepped into a conversation that's already been going.
It was the last show actually, and we were talking about how judge battles are going to be back, and obviously your name came up, talking about judging and stuff like that, and Kirill and I have had this conversation like long before we ever even started this show about judging and battle rap. We've had this argument so many. You might have to sell another argument for us tonight, Nameless. We'll get to that in a bit if we do. But I know Amy wanted to jump in with some judging questions here.
Yeah.
No, I just have a question. Like, so we're a little bit down the rabbit hole here on this one, and I think it's interesting. So we can talk about this all night. But at some point, I do want to talk about the actual lineup for the Grand Prix. But anyway, you keep throwing, or I guess Kirill mostly was throwing around credible judge, and Nameless, you were kind of agreeing, going, yeah, in a perfect world, but there's all these lenses and whatnot. My question is, what makes a credible judge? Because I think most of us would go.
I don't know if you can see. We can see Amy.
Yeah, I can. Most of us know, a battler that's been around for a long time and is successful, or somebody who runs a promotion or whatever. But what makes a judge credible? Like, what is the criteria for that?
Do you want me to answer? No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I'd like to hear Kirill's answer, please.
Well, the way we came across it, credible judge, first of all, should have some sort of experience, a lot of experience, right? And a credible judge would be the one that a lot of people agrees with, right? After the points are posted, obviously there's going to be a lot of bullshit, people hating or not, whatnot, right? But if you come to it with a constructive criticism, you give your marks and you explain why you gave those marks, and it makes sense to most of the people that are watching and judging. You slowly build credibility, right?
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I think we need to start considering that from that dynamic and understanding the credibility of the judges. I think we stumbled across something really interesting early on I mean like the community of battle rap in just that like 5 to 7 people format, because I think if there's enough of a gravity of like wisdom and background knowledge that like if 3 to 5 of the judges kind of know the scenes and get all the references and the like whatever, and then you have another 1 to 3 people who are maybe in like slightly tangential into whether it's the rap industry or like beatboxing, DJs or whatever it is, like people who are like adjacent to battle rap but can provide that perspective that's a little bit more distanced. Again, I think that aligns with that, like the different lenses and a bit more of a democratic look on things. There's a really good podcast called...
That is, what you said is exactly the way they pick judges for battles. The format of battles that I explained earlier, the way you said it, having a few credible people and having somebody who's from like something peril is exactly what they do. You know what I mean? So there's a bunch of credible judges who people really pay attention to, and there's a couple of people that are just there to say I like or not. You know what I mean? And whatever, right? They're in the culture, but they're in the culture in a different way. Right, so their marks kind of, you know what I'm saying, but it does give a different perspective and all kinds of. So I'm just up in whatever you just said now. You know what I mean? It's exactly what they do back home.
I like that when they're at the edges of the system. Sorry, I think I cut you off earlier, Amy. You were going to say something.
Oh no, I just had a question. Would you make Marv and Drake 2 of your 5 to 7 judges?
You know,
oh my God,
I love both of those dudes. Shout out to both of them. And yeah, I mean, both of those guys.
That's what you just described. Somebody who's in it and in it to win it and experience, and somebody who's on the fringe.
Right, exactly. And I think, I mean, there's a lot of, I would say even like, again, I talked earlier about my obsession with kind of the edges of these systems. I think you can look at places where there's natural cross-pollination happening and then try to activate those, like between MMA and battle rap, for instance. There's that Venn diagram has quite a lot of crossover, right? I would 100% in a 7-judge battle, I would throw in a credible MMA personality, because they understand the format from a different way, and you dilute it enough to get an interesting perspective from them, and then you pull in an audience that can potentially activate another part that joins the base of your culture, right?
Yeah, the back when Amy and I were doing MMA shows, I actually set up before I started doing a show.
Stop it.
Well, no, I'm not going to go to embarrass you about that one yet. I set up Organic on our show. Fuck it, I'll embarrass you. She tried to get him a freestyle live on the spot, and that didn't happen.
I knew it was going to piss him off.
But what I was going to say is, once I started doing shows, I had Organic on one of my early shows, and just like what you were saying, the Venn diagram, that crosses over quite a bit. And Organic explained to me how he modeled KOTD in the early days after UFC and Pride tournaments.
Right. No, he was a nut. We used to watch when, not to age us here, but we were watching like UFC fucking VHS tapes and shit.
Yeah. I know Organic had that conversation.
Wait. I'm sorry. Super interrupting. Are you actually, and we can get back to this if so, are you actually like an MMA fan, or are you just like privy to some top level like information? Like, you sound like you're a fan.
No, I'm a fan of fans. I love people, and I love like things that people like obsessives or something that really intrigues me, and like deep cultures in these little pockets. So I'm like a serial generalist. There's a lot of cultures that I'm like, window shopping in, so to speak. I rolled a little bit. I trained BJJ for 1.5 years. I boxed in high school, and I'm a big guy myself. So, I've had to like know how to fight to some extent. So, but
you're the target at the house party.
I'll tell you, 100 Bullets fucking tapped me out backstage at a Ground Zero.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, we did. When I was like really into training a lot more, I was like, I could get this guy. I'm at a time where he's a little bit out of shape, and that kid. Yeah, we like made sure no one was there. I'm weird about that shit. I'm like, I don't really like.
Wait, how did it actually end though?
What's that?
How did it actually end though?
Like, what did he catch you in? What did he submit you with?
Yeah.
Oh no, he got me with a rear choke. He rolled me. So we got down, and I actually like kind of pulled him, like anyway, he got me with a rib choke. That was
There's the title for the show.
I don't want
Our
to
boy Naylor.
that was awkward.
Sorry.
And then I realized how drunk I was and how terrible the floor was at a coat check of a Ground Zero event. But that's a story for another day. I don't want to pick
year is done. Good night.
But that to say, like, I mean, I can't talk deep. Like, I won't be able to talk favorite fighter and all that stuff. But I catch the big moments, and I'm aware of what's happening, as I am with a lot of weird little stuff.
I feel like you're peripherally aware of many things from the way
I'm a serial generalist. That's the way I play.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm the same way. I mean, I happen to be an MMA fan, but you speak a good enough game to maybe convince somebody who isn't a fan that you might be a fan. But
I mean, that's what intrigues me. It's like, who's in this club and who's not, and why, and what could change that, right? Like that, all of those things are on those same dynamics, right? Like the little things in I thought I was going to go into the video game industry, and it's like little changes, those little shifts where like, oh, the jump animation is cute and fun, so you jump more often. So now in the level you can hide something, so when you jump you hit it, because people are jumping all the time, and that'll happen random. Those weird little tweaks that like change the way we engage with things. I love it. I soak that stuff up. I love it.
Oh, dude, you're preaching to the choir for sure.
One thing before I forget this one, a podcast that I will highly recommend if you guys haven't listened to it already, or your listeners, Against the Rules with Michael Lewis.
I haven't.
It's like he's like a very very like stodgy highbrow. I think he was like a New York Times writer or something. I'm not sure his background really, but he does this like cutting review of rules and how we engage with them, and it starts with like basketball and basketball officiating, and then cuts across like politics and like fact checking and like art validation and critiquing and that whole world. And anyway, it's a really interesting piece on that. It's one of these like really narrative, very edited podcasts that has like interviews where needed, but it's a really interesting piece of work. Strong record.
Back to judging real quick before we move on to some other things here. Is there a lot of fuckery in battle rap judging?
Oh,
I would assume so. Eh?
I mean,
the bag's not that big, so you know that even you agree on the battle on the judges. I mean, it's easy to slide someone $1,000, $2,000. Like, it's just, and the judges even get paid. Or is that a volunteer thing?
I have not ever seen fuckery, and the thing is that it's such a good like.
Ever?
Really never. Like,
Really?
And I've had a pretty.
I mean, like that's great to hear, but wow.
Yeah, like I mean, I like have, as you can probably tell, I encourage anyone to entertain any weird impulse or desire they have, and like even the like raised brow, like throw me 200 and I'll let you win this battle that I saw jokingly thrown out, wasn't even like paused or considered at. I think the way that people, if you think about the way that people approach battling, there's a confidence that you need. If you're not going into the battle feeling like you're better than the other person, then you don't show up. You can't walk in a venue and walk around for an hour in a room with a bunch of people feeling like you're going to be a loser. And if you have to pay money to like offset that, it just like, one thing, and like I'm really scanning across like the most salacious and like offensive scandals, and there's really been nothing. It's just like the worst is that it's disorganized. One thing that I've tried to make a point of is like asking when I've been involved in judging, and this is something that was implemented at least 2.1 or 2.2 patch of judging, is asking, getting both of the battlers to validate the judge list, right? So
yeah,
to some extent, that's like kind of a grassroots version of what you're talking about, where the first round is that me and Organic, or the hosts and the people running the event, like me and Organic, will come to a list of a pool of judges, And then for each battle, I talk to the battlers and say, okay, I'm thinking these 5, I've found them, I've talked to them, I've made sure they're not like too drunk or whatever. This is what I'm thinking, these 5, and then like they'll be like, no, I battled this dude before, like whatever, because they'll know more than I do, and then they're kind of that final pass, and that's really prevented a lot of bullshit because it's not planned far enough in advance for people to really get start celebrating the power that they have. What's that?
So the judges are picked on the spot and they judge on the spot. That's pretty progressive.
The pool is picked before.
Yeah.
So like 10 to 15 credible people, and then generally me or someone else will like try to get like 2 or 3 battles in advance and just be mapping it out. Again, very conversational with the battlers and the judges to find, because also you get judges that are in the pool and they're like, nope, not judging this one, I care too much. Like, people hate judging title matches. People hate it. So it's also a negotiation as well.
So has this been done before? The system you're talking about, having a pool of judges showing up there and picking them.
I don't know how URL, has URL done judging? I'm not super familiar with their.
I don't think so. I haven't seen a judged URL battle.
So
and like I said, I'm way more into KOTD. I check out the bigger battles on URL. Most of their battles are bigger names and stuff, but even the whole format, the whole way everything's done, it's just, like I said at the beginning of the show, KOTD is first and foremost. So I can't say 100% for sure that there's no judge battles, but the ones I do tune into, they're never judged.
Yeah. So I can't speak for. I know. It was very similar when I went out to the UK, where I think I judged my own battle there, and it was
the Mark Grist battle.
Yeah, and
that was good, man. Because I was looking into stuff, and that was a good battle.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Kirill watched that for the first time this afternoon, and he was like, "What the fuck is the guy at the end that he was going in on? Who's that?" I was like, "That's And I gave Kirill a little background on and he was like, he fucking tore him apart, and like he's not even part of the battle. And then we rewatched it actually when Kirill and I got together today, and yeah, he fucking definitely did.
But they had a similar setup out there where they were kind of figuring it out, grabbing judges who were around, and I was early on. They often did like filming judge reactions afterwards and explaining it, which I was always a strong advocate of. That kind of fell off as the events got bigger. It got tougher to keep track of like 5 people immediately after they watched a battle and then kind of folded into the crowd. It started to be a little bit difficult, but yeah,
it should be their responsibility to go to a certain area and record a little clip. You know what I mean? Because if you signed up to judge it, you should be able to fucking finish it.
But like I said, so a lot of the time you're trying to persuade people to judge. Like, people aren't really. I'm fucking down, and there's like 1,000 fans that are like, let me in, coach. But finding people again who have that air of authority, credibility, good way of articulating their positions, and are like at the event and in a state to judge properly.
You mentioned too that nobody wants to judge title matches, and there's one that you judged, and you were the only judge that gave it to one of the guys, Sharon versus Pat. I'm like actual friends with Sharon. I'm just a fan of Pat's Day, right? So obviously I'm cheering for Sharon no matter what. He could get bodied, and I'm still gonna try to argue some sort of case. But friggin', because he got, I don't know how much of the rumors or story is true. It's all out there for anyone wants to go find it. No need to go into it, but kind of got jerked around out of his 3rd round. What was your reasons of giving it to Sharon? And earlier when you touched on you're from that freestyle era, and Sharon was kind of just going off the top, because from what I understand, it was like hours or an hour before the battle, he has to start redoing a 3rd. I mean, if anyone has to go off the top for a round, Sharon's probably a pretty good person to pick, but still, he kind of got the shaft there. So, yeah, like I said, you were the only judge that voted for him in that one, right?
Yeah, I had no idea what. I'm very often the only judge who votes for someone, and I'm fine with that. I get that. I think it's interesting that you cut there, because that's when I was trying to think of the biggest failing of the judging system to me that happened was that battle.
Really?
And again, it cuts into what you think is important in a battle, and what criteria you're judging it on, and how that works. So again, like I love both those guys. They're both my brothers, and you know, I wish the best for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is controversial to mention or not. I don't know if there's rumors or not around it, but yeah, what happened that night from my perspective was Sharon had some material that Pat felt or Pat somehow heard of some material that Sharon had that may cause offense or
start a riot or a fight or
something. And I mean, I personally saw like a very difficult to watch conversation between you know, towering Pat and extremely awkward Sharon.
Oh man.
Like Pat was telling Sharon he could not perform this material, and that shit wasn't cool with me, and like I don't know what to do there. Like from a judging perspective, probably again, if I'm considering judging the way that I do, where it's like judging for what happens on the stage, I probably should have stepped out and said I shouldn't have judged that. But again, like, and the greater story is that I'm glad that's part of the story, because I do think the material that Sharon put together in that, to your point, like having to kind of formulate an entire round, and not again, like he does things a little bit differently than a lot of the written era or freestyle era did. Like I think him and Disaster are the two examples that I know of who can really transition between that kind of in the flow part of your brain, where you're making up stuff as you go, and like really hearing the words in a way that resonates and allows you to like define them as you're saying them.
Yeah, it's fucking insane.
Like repeating things that are already caught in your head. So I think, like you said, like literally him and Disaster are the only people who could even, like, if that happened to me, I'd be like, cool, dude, I can't fucking perform.
Yeah,
right?
You don't have a third, right?
Right? That needs to be escalated. We need to have a greater conversation, because then whatever, right? So I think I'm conflicted there, because I both think that
do you think what you're saying is, you think Sharon should have said, fuck it, if I can't perform it, then I just shouldn't do it?
I haven't said anything about what I think Sharon should or not.
No. Sorry. That's my bad. I'm just thinking. Sorry, I'm my bad.
No, not at all. Don't apologize. I just
I'm just thinking.
What would judge, right? But yeah, I don't know what to do from Sharon's perspective. To me,
sorry, you said you'd rather step away, right? You should have said
if he was in that
case. Yeah. If I was,
I bet I heard it wrong.
Was in that position, just because I can't do that. Like the amount of really, like, my battle with Twist was the probably the best execution I had of like making something up that was a little bit more on the spot. But even that like was a far cry from the freestyle era, where like it was really like you'd have about 30 seconds while you stood on stage with someone you'd never met before to square them up and like try to think of one funny thing to say, so that if you were really lost, you could like pull that out. But otherwise you were just kind of stumbling through this space of saying the meanest things you could. Right? So to me, my skill set, like I could never, right? Like that, I just would never be able to formulate something. Also, just having that added pressure, like my obsession with complex social dynamics means that if I'm feeling unwanted in a place, or like I'm personally threatened, I'm not like a punch you in the face guy. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be here, right? Like I'm just, that's not the way that I like hold space or hold my strength and power. So to me, it like that's just a shitty situation. I think again, like Sharon has a way different skill set there where I don't think he's thinking about those dynamics in the same way. Like he's an adorable little brilliant. Like, okay, I can't use that line. Okay, well, let me figure it out. I'm like, I don't know exactly. It's. I think he came in and did I'm glad he did the performance that he did. I've told Pat, I'm me and Pat are he's one of the people that I'm closer with outside of battle rap, and he knows how I felt about that, and we've had conversations about it, and I think he feels ways about he was in a very difficult position there himself as well, right? So I don't think that like I'm not in a position to judge anyone there. Yeah. I just also probably wasn't in a position to objectively judge the 90-second or 2-minute rounds that I should have been judging them for at that exact moment.
That's fair.
All right. Well, now that you have me wanting to pat Sharon on the head.
No, man, that kid's the little beautiful, the little, the ugly duckling of battle rap that grew up to be the big
on.
Great. No,
look, the faux Canadian Jason Momoa over here is shitting on the autistic kid. So that's cool.
I'll tell you, I got one. Let me give you a wonderful Sharon story. Very early on, I always did what I could to make to try to support how I could, and I was really, all of us saw ourselves in young Sharoni, and so occasionally we'd offer, me and my girlfriend at the time and wife and baby mama now would offer us on our couch to crash for an event or whatever, and he'd come in from Ottawa and do his thing and head home the next day. And one day we had it was actually like we had just bought a puppy dog like a month before. Shout outs to Jasper, the dog that still persists to this day. And
now you're speaking my language. Go on.
And young Sharon came over, and it felt like we were cleaning up after the puppy dog again, because we had chicken and wings, and the next day, literally like every surface of the house, every handle and drawer and like shelf, you just could map his puppy dog movement through the house, just touching everything and slopping his wing sauce on. It was just adorable. I don't even know if you washed his hands.
I mean, look, you can't not love the guy, right?
No, he's a great dude. I'm glad to see him shining. I'm glad to see them all shine, man.
Totally agree. So I was just kind of teasing earlier. I'm not shitting on Sharon. I'm a Sharon fan myself, but to get a step back from the Sharon and Pat conversation specifically that was happening, and to go back to where it started, like you said at the beginning of that you feel like you oftentimes, when you do judge, are the only person to pick somebody or to vote for somebody, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But I'm curious why you feel that is. Like, what is it that you are taking into consideration that other people are not, that you are chronically the only person to pick somebody?
I mean, I think it's like I think I tie back to what I've said earlier, which is that I really watch at the edges of things. I like understanding both like depth and surface, and so. I think, and I think that I'm not unique in that. I think there's lots of people who are very often outliers within their, whether it's judging battle rap or whatever they do. I think like complex systems aren't binary, right? There's not a this or that, and I think battle rap is a great example that really brings that to the surface. So I don't know. I really hope. I'm not I think fundamentally I do have a part of me that roots for the underdog to some extent. I think that's something I'm aware of, so I try to circumvent and try to be as objective as possible. But if it's if it's on the head, if it's a 50-50 thing and one person is the underdog, maybe that's, I don't know. I'm trying to make up an answer here where I don't think there necessarily is one. I think if you watch any judge who has done as much judging as I have, you'll probably find a lot of examples where they disagree with people, just because as you develop a taste for it, you develop a nuance to it, and not everyone shares that nuance.
That's a very good answer, because I was just going to add to that, because it happens a lot in the offline battles that I mentioned, and the more credible people join as the battle goes on, right? So you're not going to have all the credible judges judging the first paired round, right? They start coming in onto like 1/8 of the finals, right? When there's 16 people left, 8 pairs, right? So the more credible judges join in then. So when you see the beginning, there's only like 1 or 2 people that are like real credible, and usually those are the people that organize the shit. And you see that that most of the other judges, which are just the top layer people, which are just rappers or somebody who's involved in the culture, like we talked about earlier, and you will see that experienced people there will always be like 2 people that are credible, you know what I mean, that have more experience, that disagree with the majority of the votes, because the way they vote is just, I like it or not, right? And when the credible people judge, they judge, like you said, they develop nuances and they catch shit that other people just don't.
Yeah. No, it's tough, and I do when I think about it strictly from the lens of as an artist, it is a difficult system to try to consider, because before the event, like, you don't know who that pool of judges is going to be, right? And you don't know if it's going to be, you know, to your point, whether the judge is going to be Soulja Boy or Jay-Z, right? Like, who will have very different sensibilities in what they're looking for and what they like. So it's tough, but that's what makes it interesting to me. That's what makes it like such an interesting kerplunk board of random chance, and like a combination of chance and skill, right?
Mm-hmm. So back to this.
That's the game that I had in my head for that metaphor, not kerplunk.
Back to let's get back into this Jesus Christ, Grand Prix a little bit. Have you looked at any of the matchups or the brackets or anything, or the participants in it, Nameless?
I did. I will pull it back up here. Where can I find it? Is it on
I was looking for it earlier. They remember back in the day they'd have like the whole bracket posted, like the graphic of it and everything. I can't find shit yet. Back in the day, back in like the 2012 GP, that's what you had to go on. Amy's showing up in Skype. I knew Amy would come with the prep. Yeah, it's in the chat there. You can see it. Nameless, you should be able to see that as well.
Have I taught you nothing? Come on.
You can teach, but it doesn't mean I have to learn.
Amy, before you get too excited here, is this the matchups as well? Like, is this in order of the matchups?
No.
Are you testing me?
Canada wins. Yeah, no, that's just who's in.
Oh,
shit, son! Look at her go.
Well played.
Look at her go. Wow. I think she felt like she knew it was coming. She knows what me and Krill treat her like, so she's probably like, I'm sure you can't treat any better by this guy. They're gonna come with some smart ass shit. I'm gonna have my stuff ready.
That was strategic. That was a trap, and I liked every second of it.
I know. After I even told you yesterday, Nameless, we don't come with baited questions. Look what she did to you.
You're like Mr. I know, generalist, whatever. You're also Mr. Sociology, but if you are that, then you should have seen that coming.
I should have. I'm embarrassed and impressed. Don't worry. You won this. Okay.
I'm sure Jason will edit that out, so no worries.
It's good. No, all of the people I care about and that I respect embarrass me a little bit. I think that's why we gravitate to battle rap, right? It's part of, sharp blades craft sharp blades.
Yes. And did you know that there's captains too?
That's what I was about to say before we start. I saw Lush post, and so I was like, oh, okay, cool. But then, like, is that a real thing, or is that like a Lush thing?
No. There's captains. It's Poison Pens for the East, Organic for the North, Direct for the South, and Lush for the West.
All right, I didn't see that. All right, cool.
Yeah, they're the captains. I mean, I don't know what that means. It adds to the storyline. It's fun. It makes it a little more fun to get into, right? I don't know exactly what the roles were.
Organic is the captain of the North?
Captain of the North.
So
who else is going to be?
No. So it's not one of the participants then, right?
No.
So what is the captain then?
What do you mean who else is going to be? Nameless?
That's what I just said. Nameless could be. Kid Twist. Bartone.
Captain is like the head judge or something?
Okay, I gotta go. Bartone.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something cool about that idea of like, I think we're figuring it out, right? Like, I think
it adds to it, right?
What did the Premier League out in UK? I think they did some cool shit out there where they were running it like a soccer league. I don't know the details of that. Did you follow that?
No. I knew that it started. I watched a couple battles that they like had posted up, but I didn't follow their whole format and everything. Because Shoddy was the one behind that, wasn't he? Shoddy Horror?
Yeah, I think he had some involvement in it.
Yeah, like quite a bit.
But
I think, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that stuck out to me was that I was really glad that some of the big names turned out, because there is this ambivalence around, you know, putting your reputation on the line that has really prevented a lot of the great matchups. So I was really glad to see that there's a lot of people who turned out that I wouldn't have expected. And I mean, like, Diz and Thesaurus and Caustic will take battles when they get good ones, and that's I'm glad they're in this. The South I don't know super well.
Same with the three of us. Not real familiar. You guys,
I
saw their battles here and there, but yeah, we're on the same page as you there. Not as familiar with the South.
Yeah, Lotta Zay, I know is great. They like his shit.
Great.
Yeah, obviously Jonai, I think, is like maybe for like the people who were following it during that moment, that kind of felt like a cliffhanger that aligned with coincidentally with you know, a bit of a downturn in like the momentum of the battle rap community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's like a really cool narrative there. I really hope I wish him luck and hope that turns out well. Really everyone, like all of the old heads, I'm super glad to see them in this. Obviously,
Head Ice.
Joey's one of the dudes that, like, of the new breed that I genuinely like as a human being, and continue to try to encourage people to check out his stuff. Some of the older fans that haven't kept up to date. Shoddy P as well as a beast.
I love Shoddy P.
Yeah, that's very quickly like.
I really like Shoddy P. It's like you were saying with the judging thing from a fan perspective. When I just like want an entertaining battle, you know, I don't want like a Diz battle where I got to break down every single syllable, right? Like an entertaining battle, Shoddy checks all those boxes for me. He's got comedy, he's got like a decent flow when he gets it going. Puts together some intelligent shit. I really like Shoddy, and I'm not like the biggest gun bar fan, but he's somebody who can use him well. For a newer guy, because a lot of he's not new, but you know what I mean. Guys that aren't as old as like Clips and stuff like that. A lot of the newer guys, they're just kind of recycling what people said in the past.
I'm excited to see Bonnie as well. I'm like, you know, shout out to sex workers, and I support and cheer them on, and I think it's going to be really interesting. She's such a brilliant performer as well.
Are you excited to see RX?
What's that?
Are you excited also to see RX?
I don't know RX.
Oh man.
Is that
YouTube that, yes. She's battling Saint, but she's I don't have anything against Bonnie, but like RX is dope as fuck, man.
Okay, I'm gonna look this. Oh, she battled.
What's her name at Town Business 2? Oh, Myverse.
I think I might.
She battled Myverse at TBD2. It was a good battle too. But
yeah, no. But that's something that obviously, like, gender plays an interesting role in many scenarios, and battle rap is one of those. So I
not
like
a good one.
What's that?
Not a good one, oftentimes.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I think that's and obviously I think that's a conversation that culturally we're having a lot more right now, and it's an important one. So it's interesting to see. Like, I think, yeah, I don't think.
But wait, you know what? A micro step, in my opinion, is that though they included a few females, which I personally like. I'm just like, give me skills, give me talent, give me bars. Like, I want to hear some shit. Like, I'm not like, where are all the women's at, personally.
Right.
And I know that's not super popular, and that's an unpopular opinion, but it is what it is. But I will say that they, harvested a few of them, that they weren't trying. They weren't like very viscerally going, if we pull one, we have to pull another and have them battle each other.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's dope.
And
that's
a small thing. Ultimately, the goal is that where that's not something that you have to consider and that everyone's just taken at face value. But obviously, when you start considering, again, like all of the complex dynamics and like traditional power dynamics, it's something that, as someone who likes seeing those things evolve, that I pay attention to. And again, like you said, like those are two women who hold their own, like not as good for women, but like good as battle rappers 100%. Like they're very formidable foes to I'm familiar with Bonnie's stuff. I think I watched this RX in my verse battle, but yeah, no. So it's again, just like to your point, like the evolution would be not caring about it or having to pay attention to it, but as someone who really watches those things evolve, it's something I'm curious about.
So super specific, unrelated to that question. Since you've had a chance to look over the rosters of each division, I think there's probably a lot of conversation to be had on each of the four sides. But the one big surprise to me, right? Like if you're only going 8 guys or women or whatever on each side, like there are so many more people to consider, right? But the big thing, the first thing I thought, there were 2. I got to be honest, there were 2. That I was like, what the fuck? Where's, fill in the blank, right? On the West, I really thought they'd bring out Pass. I really did. And I know nothing about if they tried to or if anything happened. In the South, I thought it would be Ness. And he has publicly since posted saying he had personal issues. They were the first one he was the first one they called. He had to give up his spot, whatever. But is there anybody, now that you've looked over the roster, that you think has been excluded or that you're surprised to like not see in any division?
I mean, I think one of the interesting things that World Rap Championship did was try to stretch out, again, to those like edge cases, to those, underdog. I think underdogs is like a cop out to both use that, whether it's geographically or gender or whatever. It's not that simple. But again, just those edge cases was something World Rap Championship did really well, by doing like really broad geographically. I would have loved to see some UK representation. I would have loved to see maybe some South American representation, some Russian representation, maybe Kirill, shout out to that. Because I think one of the things that you see culturally with these like micro cultures as they expand, around the world, is that all the different cultures take them slightly differently. And like, Philippines has done something huge with battle rap, and Russia now as well, and in other places in South America and all around the world, really. There's a female battle rap Korean television show called, I believe it's Unpretty Rap Star, that I, again, strongly recommend. So I would have loved to see like really branching out in that. I know this is a very early, this is an idea that hopefully is something that's seasonal and continues. I would love to see that expand out into different geos and really try to pull some of the talent that, as much as I appreciate the going to bat for King of the Dot and all the things they do, and as someone who's, been pretty close to that story and holds it closely themselves. I do love, like, I think the community wins, the world wins when all of those things can cross-pollinate, and like artists are shared and ones that work well in different ecosystems. Like one of the things that I think has done a huge injustice to battle rap as a whole is is URL's contract-based system where they're building a closed ecosystem. On the flip side, I think that's been phenomenally strong for their artist development and for their community building by building that, again, closed ecosystem. But I think one of those, like, one King of the Dot has all, like, specifically Organic has always been a fan of the culture. I don't think he did this because he really wanted to. I think he did it because he loved battle rap culture and didn't see someone else stepping into that role. So he's always had the mentality to give his tools to everyone else and to really share that as broadly as possible, to open source it almost, right? And what happens, I think there was, obviously a very public falling out with and like the Don't Flock community, where I think, again, that was around negotiating the edges of ownership of ideas around a culture that does best when there's cross-pollination and that no one's claiming ownership of those. So to that effect, I think any opportunity to reach to those edges, and that's not something that's battle rap exclusive. I think that's like the approach I take to product design and design in general. That things need to have that gravity. They need to have that centralized community, that base. But the tendrils that reach out, those expansive, signals that attract and get attention from people on the outside, that's that good shit. That's what I'm paying attention to.
Ever since you said Russia, Krill's been sitting here dying to say something.
not that I'm dying.
Did you hold your thought?
since we mentioned that you said that you would love to see some UK representation, I'd love to see some Australia there. Anything that involved anybody who helps battle rap and speaks English, pretty much. But what I was gonna say, in Russia and versus, a lot of people.
360. You're right. Very, very true. Didn't mention any Australians or New Zealand. Thank you for that.
So what I was trying to say is that in Russia, on Versus, a lot of people that are actual rappers, like label rappers, you know what I mean? People that are on label, that are sort of mainstream. I don't know what you want to call it. That are making money of this, living of this. They did crossover and they did battle in Versus. Either a lot of them battled each other. Some of them stepped out and battled people that are actually. Oxy is a good example of that. You know what I mean? So what I was trying to ask is, what do you do? Because me and Kelly here had an argument about this forever. Do you think that people that were making aggressive battle rap over recordings, right, over recorded material, like shit like G-Unit was coming out, right? Remember that? Like every song was "I'm a soldier" and then "shit on everybody, kill you" and all that. All these they were pretty much battle bars, right? Like battle rap bars.
No, someone had a fantastic song where they were battling. They were rapping as the guy. As the like unnamed rapper that everyone's always shitting on in their songs. Like I'm that guy who, when you're like, your wax is fake and your fucking ice is stolen, like whatever. That's so clever.
We're all the guy.
That's a good idea, though. That's a dope idea. But yeah, what I was gonna say, do you think it's really, because that's what I'm saying. We had this argument forever, but do you think it's that hard for people that make battle rap on records over beats to cross over and perform in battle rap? But we're talking about like I don't want to see Common or Mos Def battle somebody. I'm talking about somebody like Banks or you know what I mean.
Here's the other argument I mentioned earlier. You might have to solve this. This is it. This is why he's going with the G-Unit beating around the fucking bush here. Lloyd Banks, and I like Lloyd Banks. I was a fan of Lloyd Banks' music back in the day. I don't know if he's still making music. It's a little not what I'm into anymore. But
he's still in 50 apparently nowadays.
Yeah. But Krill thinks if Banks crosses over, he's gonna be the guy. I'm like, he might do all right, but he has to have the right opponent.
I'm not saying he's gonna hold the title right away, but I'm saying he's gonna do well.
That's fair. He wasn't out here saying like, oh, he'll bury Diz today, but no, he's saying like he'll do well, especially compared to the other guys we've seen crossover, like Cassidy, Cannabis, so on and so forth.
And since I've dipped into a little bit of your past there, right? I've seen some videos since you make some music and you battled. What do you think that Kelly's trying to prove to me that people that make battle rap on wax, on record, cannot cross over? Since you've done both, do you think? You think it's that much of a transition? Because these people perform in front of crowds. They gotta know how to work a crowd. They gotta know how to write a lyric. They gotta know how to perform it, how to remember it, right?
I think it's Chuck D who had a quote where he said something like, "Battle rap is like the dunk competition." Right? Like it's
I can see
this skill set that's very adjacent to basketball, but as it develops, the guys who are the best dunkers, right? Like there's some white kid out of Ontario who's got hops like a motherfucker. He couldn't play a day in the NBA. Yeah. The skill set's just different. So as these things evolve, they get different dynamics and different variables that become valuable or less valuable, or that economy slightly shifts, and all of a sudden something becomes more in demand than something else. I think when you see culture cut across geographies, there's this interesting evolution that happens where a lot of culture feels like it radiates out of the Western world, but there's also a lot of dialogue there between the ways that you see like UK culture adapt and combine and jam like Western culture and Jamaican influences from the communities that were cross-pollinating there, and then to say battle rap, for example, the aesthetic of what is appealing in battle rap in all of these places, that it's rippled out to the South Americas and the Philippines and the wherever it is, because it's hitting those communities at slightly different times. The planets of what's popular and what's not popular, and what countercultures are bubbling, and what fucking 100 people just happen to show up at that event for the first time by chance, right? Like there's a lot of dice rolling, and they're complex systems, so it's not like they will or won't. I think people who have had, I have a theory that people who have had success become less able to adapt to change. So the earlier in your developmental stage you achieve success, you see like child stars often have serious developmental issues. There's no worse teacher than early success, right? So I think you see like lifetime learners are people who have found mental ways of continuing to challenge themselves and finding that perfect balance of enough confidence to keep on pushing forward, while having enough humility to want to continue to push forward and have a drive to improve. I like, if we're talking Lloyd Banks, I think he's someone who's had success and is probably comfortable enough that it's difficult to pull out a drive to move into a whole new world that needs a bit of a different skill set. And I think that's what you see a lot of the people who have had success within battle rap. I think that's the calculation that they've failed to calibrate. They've been comfortable coasting on the successes that they've had in certain venues. And so maybe he's far enough away from it and has been humbled enough by the life that's happened post G unit that he's do it. But I don't know. I would bet against it. If we're betting here, I would bet against Lloyd Banks being sick. And I'll put it here.
Damn.
I'll fucking kill you, Lloyd Banks, in a battle.
Oh shit!
I will roast him like easy. I'll take that one. I'll bet on that. I'll put 5K on a battle. If you want something interesting to put here, I think he's probably out of the game.
Okay, so hold on. What?
Interesting.
What? Sorry, Knamelis. What was that? Keep going.
I will bet Lloyd Banks $5,000 American dollars. It's not a lot. I know. It's reasonable. I'm a middle upper class human. I'm not making a crazy bet here, but if you want something interesting out of this, I would roast Lloyd Banks.
Real quick before Amy hops in here,
No, hold on. Let me finish this. Okay. Since Lloyd Banks was just my example, so do you think there's anybody that could do well or do decent if they crossed over?
100%. I don't see why not. I think there's a lot of. I think human potential is an incredible and wonderful thing. I think it would take someone having the hunger to really want to do it. I've always really wanted to. Talk about rooting for the underdog. I've always really hoped that just the world of battle rap is enough to. I'll tell you, Drake could fucking kill someone in a battle easily. That's the one I'll say.
We talked to us one night. That whole Mook and Drake shit that was supposed to go down. And then Drake been closer than most people think.
Drake could do a lot of damage in a battle. I think. Yeah, but again, it's like I'd say probably, but then you might just get in the ring and it doesn't. You have a couple lines that don't hit, and all of a sudden it starts to feel weird, and you lose one of those like 12 audiences that you're trying to hold in your head, and it starts to crumble very quickly. So, yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Oh boy,
Amy.
There's a lot to unpack here, but
there's a fucking ton to unpack. Is the word of the fucking night. This is a deep lunchbox.
No, activate is the word of the night. but I say that as a marketing professional myself. Anyway, so I've got two things I want to hit on. But the first one would be, we all have our own like thoughts and experiences and opinions and questions, whatever, right? But like, I want to hear you with no like real. I'm not going to give you any other information.
Yeah.
I just want to hear you compare and contrast Caffeine and Twitch.
I really don't know like anything about the Caffeine platform. Can you tell me a little bit about what they're doing there?
Caffeine was like, hey, URL, we're going to stream your shit. Basically. And so it was cool, and I think it is cool. But there was a little pushback with like the production value and how it was actually run, and avocado being part of the equation. And so I feel like, I guess the bigger question is, Twitch, now that KOTD is doing the Twitch thing, is like much bigger a platform than this corporate conglomerate coming in, as they've done before with Battle Rap, and going, hey, URL, we'll do this with you with Caffeine.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think, so I admittedly don't know much about either relationship or the Caffeine platform. I'm pretty familiar with Twitch and obviously King of the Dot and URL. My understanding is that Caffeine is a smaller, just by the very nature that I'm not aware of them otherwise. Is URL the biggest thing on Caffeine?
No, it was literally a partnership that has come out of nowhere. Like, they were like, hey, Caffeine, URL, we'll do an online platform. We'll stream battles. And it's been like last, 2 months?
And we'll do everything different than the other guys have done it right for you the past decade plus.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen these before, Nameless.
If you I clicked in through something else, but can you just open? Let me do it through incognito. Hold on. I'm just checking here because it looked, yeah. So they have given URL like front page billing on caffeine.tv, which is their homepage.
Yeah,
right.
They put a lot of stock,
which is not comparable to Twitch in terms of like marketing dollars or reach.
Right. Exactly. So if we're talking, if we're talking about like 4 different things here, the size of URL, like, I guess what I'm trying to look at here is the biggest difference between the relationships to me, and the thing that I'd be most curious about is what each of them, what all 4 parties are getting out of that. Like, obviously Caffeine and Twitch are both getting premium content from a community that has clearly proven that they have a model that works on many levels, and they're getting content at a time that content is king, where that has an extremely high premium. Clearly, like, Caffeine is in a, because they don't have the same name recognition that Twitch has, is in a position where they have to offer more to URL. So I'm just very intrigued about, I don't know, I've had very brief conversations with I think Beasley I talked to many years ago, and Smack like over Facebook or something. But I would love to unpack that with them and figure out what that relationship looks like, and what they're getting, and what they're offering, and what they've committed to.
You know what? Hey, come on next week. How's that sound? We'll unpack it.
Who's here next week? Do you have someone from URL?
No.
We can probably make that happen.
But yeah, no, I would love. I'll definitely listen if you do. I think so yeah, I would love to know what that business relationship looked like. And then same deal with King of the Dot. Like I have not, admittedly, like I had a very brief conversation with Organic today before this call, just to square up and make sure that, I like to run things by people who are involved in the things that I do.
Yeah.
But admittedly, I know, and when the conversation started to tip into what those dynamics were, I was like, I actually don't want to know this going into the conversation, into this conversation we're having now. But I'm very curious about that as well. What that relationship looks like, and hopefully, in both cases, I really hope those guys are getting taken care of on both sides, and that they're building systems that have ecosystems where they're getting compensed in a way that allows them to, because I know, like, again, like Organic hates the business side of it. He has come to it by the need to, and he's extremely generous with the way that he works with money and business. So, which makes him a terrible businessman from my perspective. So, I mean, luckily he has partners and people that he works with that keep him on the up and up. And that's, I shouldn't say a terrible businessman. He's a fantastic businessman, but his biggest weakness is that he really does just want to see everyone win. So I really I hope that both of these organizations are getting enough to both be able to take care of themselves and make this a sustainable system for them, but also to be able to extend some of that privilege and platform and opportunity to as many and as wide of a net as possible.
All right, Knamelis, we've taken up about enough of your time. Before we let you get out of here, though, aside from cooking Banks on the next KOTD, or that's where it has to go down, right? We can't let that go down anywhere else.
Of course.
Aside from that, is there anything else in the oven?
Twitter tonight, I'm sure. Is going to be...
Wait, you know what? Wait, what I'm about to interrupt and ask.
A small wager for travel no one asked for. What were you saying there, Amy?
No, I was going to say what I'm about to interrupt and ask is very in line with what Jason was about to say. So, sorry to take that part out of your closing, but you have a Facebook page, not your personal page. You have a Facebook page. There's an Instagram, a Twitter, and other than some stories on Instagram. And I'm not friends with your Jacob page on Facebook, but other than that, are you not a social media person or?
I do I actually the company I work for right now does I work for Facebook technically in some ways right now. I work at a digital agency that works for Facebook, and the way that relationship works, I technically work for Facebook as well. So I have a weird relationship with social media. I'm very much like Jacob on social media, and really the whole Nameless thing is really a play on that, because I really love every project I produced and released as a musician. I put a different name on. I did Martin McFly and Decade, and then 2 or 3 other projects that I am not named on, and enjoyed participating in them anonymously, just because that's what I get my rocks off on, and that's what excites me. So I'm very much I'm Jacob on those things. I encourage people to reach out. I'm big name on Instagram. There's a lot of fucking footage of me and my kids, because they're amazing. And Archer at 5 years old can already freestyle 4 or 5 syllables. It's terrifying.
Oh shit.
And Yeah, I'm not like, I'm very, I guess I'm very overt in the way that I engage with like my performative persona and draw a very hard line between those. Like I really love performing and I really love stepping into that space, but part of the reason I stopped being involved was because those lines got blurred in a weird way where I like this being like you'll hate hearing this, like professional wrestling, not like UFC. I like that it's the pageantry of it and the performative aspect of it is part of what attracts me to it. Whereas when it started being like, I found out where you work and I'm gonna try to jeopardize your employment, that shit doesn't fly with me. I get paid way too much to fucking saying mean things in a man poem competition. So I don't know. I think, I don't know. That's a weird question. I'm not against social media. I think it's incredibly interesting, but the way that I engage with it, like as an artist, is I don't like Nameless the artist. Nameless the artist doesn't really exist right now. I haven't released anything in quite some time, and I still make a lot of music. I'm camming up here so the people on the show won't be able to hear, but I spent a lot more time with this group.
Shit.
Some synthesizers and pianos and guitars and
So you're currently making music.
You and Kirill might be having some conversations off air.
For real.
So that's like, playing with those things and playing with performance is something I'm always interested in and have continued to do, but I don't have like a project right now, like a musical vessel that I'm trying to market or promote. Yeah. And so my engagement with social media is very much as Jacob Kasatskiy, something or other. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, wait, so I knew about the gaming thing. I know now what you've said. Like, where on the spectrum of like online, digital, marketing, advertising, sales, without saying a company or exactly what you do day to day? And I know you got to go, and we got to go too. But like, what do you do?
My job title is senior digital producer. So basically, just getting shit done, really pulling together creative and technical and, selling stuff and building projects and getting clients excited and building products and that kind of stuff is my 9 to 5. I do a lot of business consulting and organizational health consulting in small to mid-sized businesses, particularly in marginalized communities where entrepreneurship isn't as encouraged or promoted or platformed. And then music as well, cut through a lot of space in that I do a lot of artist A&R work, but kind of like freelance A&R work, not really for labels, really just like finding artists.
Wait, can you actually freelance A&R? Is that a thing?
It's not. I mean, it's a terrible business. It's not something I make any money from in any way, and has cost me more money than anything. But it's something I glean great joy from and get personal satisfaction from. I really I love, seeing people be their best selves, and that's something that again cuts across my professional and personal life. That's not one of the pots on the stove that feeds the kids, but I've been very fortunate in some of them that they've been, financially rewarding enough that I'm able to dig into other things that I care about as well. So there's not a short answer to that.
Right on. So
I try to fucking get people to do good things and hopefully help people who deserve to win. And I again, the day job is like digital. I teach as well. I teach a course on digital project management at a college in Ontario here as well.
Oh, wow. I love you.
Yeah, that's too. That's good, man. And I too, like you, Amy. I fall in love.
You can do it with the other two, but she's cool.
No. You don't know why I said that, though. I've spent nearly a decade in social media marketing, digital marketing, like online everything. I was texting Jason like 3.5 decades ago when you first came on, and I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. He knows all these words, and he does all this stuff, and he understands marketing.
Yeah. And he was part of the surprise 2-on-2 battle.
Right.
But unfortunately, Amy, we're out of time. Knamelis has to get going. So anything else? Is there anything you do need to plug? Like, I know obviously you say you're not the music, battle rap's not really a thing that's on your radar right now as far as you cooking banks. So like, yeah, but that doesn't mean there's nothing that hasn't been said. So is there anything that you do want to get out of here before I just plug this and wrap it up real quick?
No, I mean, everyone should check out the Grand Prix. Everyone should subscribe to The Building Downtown.
Son.
Check me out on Instagram, Big Name, if you like, weird photos of me and my kids hanging out. That's about that.
All right, perfect. I am so happy that you gave us the time. We really appreciate it. We'll have to do this again sooner than later. If you're up for it, probably throughout this GP, and we'll be talking to you soon. For The Building Downtown, for Kirill Kasatskiy, for Amy Barton, I'm Jason Kelly. Peace out.
Building downtown. Building downtown. Building downtown. Building downtown.